The Lord be with you. Have you ever yelled at a story being told or at a character in a story? Have you ever been in a movie theater or just watching a television show when someone does something so bad, so heinous, you just want to jump through the screen to help out the hero or heroine of the story? When I read the following story written by a pastor from another denomination, I wanted to reach out and touch someone firmly, as in have a wall-to-wall prayer with him. You know what a wall-to-wall prayer is, don't you? That's the kind of prayer where you grab someone by the scruff of the neck and bounce them off of every wall you see. All in Christian love, of course. Since I do know that there isn't much Christian about that kind of prayer, I decided to share this pastor's story with you to see what you think of his friend. Quote, "We often learn the most from our children. Some time ago, a friend of mine punished his 3-year-old daughter for wasting a roll of gold wrapping paper. Money was tight, and he became infuriated when the child tried to decorate a box to put under the tree. Nevertheless, the little girl brought the gift to her father the next morning and said, 'This is for you, Daddy.' He was embarrassed by his earlier overreaction, but his anger flared again when he found that the box was empty. He yelled at her, 'Don't you know that when you give someone a present, there's supposed to be something inside of it?' The little girl looked up at him with tears in her eyes and said, 'But Daddy, it's not empty. I blew kisses into that box. All for you, Daddy.'" Let's stop there for a moment. How many of you are starting to believe that wall-to-wall prayer might be a Christian thing after all? How many of you are wishing you could find out where this father lives so you can visit with him and have a little chat? How many of you are wondering how a pastor can be friends with someone like this father? There is some redemption in the way it ends. So back to the story. The father was crushed. He put his arms around his little girl and he begged her forgiveness. My friend told me that he kept that gold box by his bed for years. Whenever he was discouraged, he would take out an imaginary kiss and remember the love of the child who had put it there." Unquote. This is Holy Week. It is time for us to meditate and ponder deeply the love of God and the child who fills this week with it. It was time for God to raise up another Noah. Even with a total do-over that began with Noah and his family being saved from a worldwide flood, we still couldn't get it right. Once more, our sin nature took over. We were separated from God. The human race no longer sought their Creator. God's ways for living life together in community had been completely forgotten or ignored. And instead of a flood, God's Son came and filled this week with kisses. And while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. We pastors are quick to remind people that Jesus took our place on the cross, that everything Jesus endured should have been done to us. The penalty should have been ours. Do we really believe that? With our whole hearts, do we believe that we deserve to have people spit on us, to have our backs whipped, to be mocked and humiliated, before having heavy nails pounded through our wrists and feet? With our whole heart, do we really believe that we deserve all that punishment and more? Or is there still some part of us that clings to the belief that we're bad, but not that bad? Haven't murdered anyone, haven't sold drugs to children, the really bad stuff done by those who are really bad people. Only those of us who know the wages of sin, any sin, will be blessed with a week filled with the kisses of God. Only those of us who know how our sin affects God will know that the tomb was not empty, but filled with the greatest kiss of love this world will ever know. This week, may we all take time to remember the child who put it there. When we all deserved a wall-to-wall prayer, Christ died for us instead. Thanks be to God. Amen.